Well, I've been in martial arts for most of my life now. I've been in the sport of MMA, exclusively MMA, for the past 23 years and counting, maybe a little bit longer. I first started as an official in 2004, completely by accident. I was still competing and training, and the rest, as far as an official goes, the rest is kind of, it's history, you know. I'm now 18 years as a referee, and that's how people know me best, and that's what I'm here for now, this weekend. I think it's a good question because I get asked all the time. It's like anything, you know, you have to have an understanding of the subject matter. So if you do not at least train in martial arts or any of the martial arts, I think the journey will take a lot longer and you'll find it more difficult. You don't have to, it's a fallacy that people think you have to be a competitor or a fighter. That's not true. But training in one or more of the facets of MMA or jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, wherever it may be, that's going to give you a much faster understanding of the sport and what it takes, for sure. Not nervous, like excitement, you know, you get a sense of occasion, for sure. You know, you never take this for granted, and obviously the fighters deserve the best. So we, as a referee, you can never feel complacent, or you can never feel too comfortable, because I think the heightened sense of awareness is what keeps you, it's what keeps me on my toes, you know. Obviously, if I'm refereeing two first-time amateurs in a small setting, it's much more relaxed, you know, but they still get the same attention. And obviously, if I'm refereeing a world championship fight or a main event, a pay-per-view somewhere in a sold-out arena, then of course I'm fully aware of the surroundings. But that's the important part, just to have an appreciation, and it just keeps me alert and ready to do what I'm supposed to do. Just like you said, keeping calm. You know, I'm in control of the moment. There's a famous saying, you know, if you keep calm when everyone else loses their mind, then you have the upper hand. And obviously, you know, sometimes when fighters sometimes I give them the benefit of the doubt in as much as obviously their mindset, that they're in a combat situation. Sometimes it takes them a couple of seconds to understand what they're doing and where they are. But in a situation like that, I mean, just holding on to him and physically restraining him a little bit whilst trying to talk him out of his stupidity is enough, you know. You just deal with these things as they come. Not really, you know. Sometimes, like I said, I've had to restrain some fighters. No fighter has ever tried to attack me. Generally, 99.9% of the time, when I step in to end the bout, they understand and they know. The best fight, like I said, for years, I could never answer that. But the most memorable fight for me is Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya. For anyone that saw that fight, you'll know what I'm talking about. For anyone that hasn't saw that fight, go and watch it so you know what I'm talking about. It's very different, but by the same token, you want to keep it as similar as possible. You want to keep that synergy, you know. It's the same sport, obviously on a reduced level. The safety factors are paramount for amateurs. You're looking for different things. Obviously, if I have two first-time amateurs or two young amateurs, not necessarily first time, referees are always instructed to be in a heightened state of awareness, you know. We're not going to let two amateurs get into as deep a water as we do. If it's two guys, professionals, fighting for a world championship fight, they're going to get in some deep water sometimes. As a young amateur, the referee's responsibility is to call time on that when they think it's getting a little bit too much. So I like to call it a common sense approach. It's a competence and a common sense approach that will treat young amateurs differently than what we would professionals. I've been watching, obviously I've been lucky enough to be coming to India for a number of times over the years. And obviously the pandemic in the middle, it's the same for everyone. India were an emerging nation. You could see that in what they've been doing at the IMAF tournaments. The squads have been getting bigger. I was just talking earlier to Sharif about when India had their first amateur world gold medalist. I think it's just going to be a time served thing, and it's the same for everything. It's the same for coaches, for competitors, for officials. That's why I'm here. But I love coming here, and I think the scene, in the hands of the right people, the scene is going to get bigger and better. Of course, that's the job of a sanctioning body or a regulatory commission, is to ensure that if fights are going to take place, we have to ensure that we're doing it in the safest possible way, by the pre and post-fight medical provision for athletes, the screening that they go through before they're even allowed to fight. Obviously the day of, the medical provision and the medical care actually at the events themselves, it's of paramount importance. And it goes without saying, in a combat sport, the beginning and end of responsibility is always on fighter safety. It's the number one thing, There has been Indian fighters. Arjun Bulla was one of the guys, the heavyweight, but I think he was stationed out in Canada. But he was Indian born. I'm pretty sure he was Indian born. Arjun Bulla was the heavyweight. Then there was a middleweight that the UFC signed as well. He struggled a little bit, but obviously I think it's like anything. A lot of countries will recognise young talent, and then they'll probably leave and go and start training in the US or somewhere in Europe. What you need to do, I think that underlines the importance of the amateurs. What Sharif and MMA India were doing, because that's where the future will come from. It sounds like a cliche, but it is. If you get hold of the youngsters, at the earliest possible age, and you're schooling them and teaching them in MMA, getting them the best possible training and education and nutrition and everything that goes with it, in time you'll start to see MMA in India emerge to a better place. And that may mean go outside for resources as well. Education, me coming to help train officials, they'll do the same for coaches, the specialist coaches all over the world. They would love the opportunity to come here. In India, 100%. Look, Sharif will tell you, and Kevin and Prasad, that's what I'm about. The work that these people have done in the amateur circuit in IMAF has been incredible. I'm not just saying it because I'm here. The service of these guys that we've had in IMAF has been impeccable for the last 7 or 8 years consistently, and it's like everything. The sport as a whole is getting better. So when you watch the athletes get better coming from India, it's the same for the officials, it's the same for the coaches. The level of the sport will rise as a whole. But I will say on record, the officials from India, their contribution to the sport in this country and their contribution to the officiating in IMAF has been second to none. Very proud of them.